Hey, it's Maxwell and Mosu. Back in the era of pure physical media, humans were forced to get off the couch and go to a store to rent or buy games.
Get a blockbuster night and a border night too. Go to Taco Bell, buy tacos or burritos.
You'd usually go off what you found in magazines or browsing box art on the shelf to pick your next laser-focused fascination. The beauty of the video store was it was essentially a trial period. You could rent a game, and if you loved it enough, you re-rented it until you beat it or bought it.
So dudes, why not get your game to Blockbuster? It's the mature thing to do.
You could usually tell within the first 2 to 3 hours if the game you were playing was something magical, if your little peanut brain was stimulated into the point of oblivion. These games stick with us for better or worse. These games are timeless. Enter HyperDuel, a Sega Saturn exclusive, Japanese-only game that shows its cards from the moment you start it up. They call these games shmups, and they're extremely popular in Japanese arcades, but it's easier to just call it a space shooter or a shoot 'em up. This game did not sell well. This is a rare case of a game being extremely overlooked, probably due to the fact that it was drowning in the likeness of a million other shoot 'em up games surrounding it in the arcades in the 90s. Even the company who made it already had a successful space shooter franchise under their belt that sold like hotcakes, known as Thunder Force. So this begs the question, is HyperDuel timeless? Or does it deserve to be forever reduced to the fleeting memory of Japanese passersby, untouched, unloved, and unplayed? Fuck no, dude. HyperDuel is the epitome of timeless. Bust out your mom's fat American Express or take a bank loan out because this game's expensive. And I don't mean baby expensive, I mean $500,000 expensive. Put a dent in your nutsack expensive. This game is going to bleed your wallet dry, but it'll put a big dumb grin on your face the entire time.
Yeah, that's all, folks.
HyperDuel is what I would consider a prime example of the perfect introductory game to get into shoot 'em ups. Does it have sweet graphics and a banging soundtrack? Check. Does it have a fun gimmick that provides variety to gameplay? Absolutely. Can you play it with your bestest friend in the whole wide world? You bet your sweet bippy. Is the game drowning in a sea of bullets, forcing it to choke up the tears of another game over? No, thank God. At least not at the start. What HyperDuel does best is wean the player into a beautiful, false sense of security until later levels turn up the heat. HyperDuel provides an elegant balance of enemy to bullet ratio, where it always feels like you can get out of the way or destroy a ship before it sneaks one out. A simple premise paves the way for 3 playable characters, all with their own gameplay quirks that unfolds over a never-ending landscape of gorgeous pixel art. It's constantly dishing out scenario-driven enemies that drop power-ups to improve your ship and create little mechs to deal that extra bit of damage. They'll even jump in front of a bullet for you, like a real best friend would. The main gimmick though that sets HyperDuel apart is the ability to transform your little spaceship into a giant robo-dude. You're essentially a Gundam Transformer hybrid that forgoes speed for raw power and the ability to aim your giant robo-dong at 45-degree angles. Also, you have a special bar at the bottom that acts as its own little form of bullet hell when you're in danger, or a super beam if you decide to transform into the mech. One of my biggest complaints with shmup games is how you constantly feel helpless to a never-ending whirlpool of bullets. Now, I've only gotten through 5 of the 8 levels of HyperDuel, but especially in the early levels, this game makes you feel dumb for getting hit. It's not the game's fault, it's your fault. You'll be having an intervention with yourself mid-game until a third you pops out with an Etch-a-Sketch and turns every level into a slaughter. It gets pretty easy to perfect a level in HyperDuel very quickly. HyperDuel is the perfect little package that you don't need to know any Japanese for. It comes with 2 games for the price of 1. The original arcade version and the enhanced Saturn version with a soundtrack that was so good it got released on CD twice in 2 different decades. So if you couldn't tell, I love HyperDuel, and I do think it's timeless. And if you don't want to pay $1 million to play it, Google is your best friend, and I won't go any more to that. The best way to play, though, is definitely on a real Sega Saturn with your tube TV. The day will melt away into a glorious blaze of Sega sadness at the thought that Americans missed out on another beautiful game. Please like, comment, subscribe. This is Maxwell Mosu. Another video coming at you real soon. Take care, sweet dreams, and I'll see ya in the next one.